All right.
Hello, Pastor.
Good evening, everybody. How many do we have on Zoom this evening? Do we have a count on Zoom?
I think it's 12 or 10. What?
7 that are on Zoom. All right. Well,
Oh, okay.
those of you, 8. Those of you that are on Zoom, God bless you. Listen up now. If we have notes for what we're talking about this week and next week. So for those that are on Zoom, you're not here to get the notes. So when you come to church on Sunday, we'll probably have a copy in the foyer for you, but let me know that you want a copy, and I'll see to it that you get a copy of these notes. These notes are going to cover chapter 16, because that's where we are, the last chapter, in the book of First Corinthians. Now, I got to tell y'all, when we study the Bible like this, here's the reason why I like this, because sooner or later, I'm going to hit an issue that's going to mean something to all of us as believers. And we're going to hit an issue today, as we look at the first 4 verses of chapter 16. Now, Paul's wrapping up everything in the book of First Corinthians. Now, I think this epistle is a book that every church should go through, because it deals with real live church problems. And given the apostles, exhortation on how we should take care of stuff that goes on, within the local church. Now, in this chapter, if you look at the notes I've looked at, in verses 1 through 4, he's going to talk about the collection for the saints. We'll look at that, talk about giving, of all things, and then we're going to talk about giving. Then when we get to chapter verses 5 through 12, Paul's going to give some. He's going to talk about his plans, and we probably won't get that today, but we're going to talk about whether or not a Christian should engage in making plans for their life. We got to talk about that, because that's important, because some Christians think you should just wing it. You shouldn't plan nothing. I was raised in my Christian life with that attitude where, just wait on the Lord, and, you don't plan nothing. You just let God, you just let go and let God, and He direct you. We're going to talk about that. And then the third section, which is verses 13 to 24, he'll give some final exhortation. Now, in this final exhortation, we won't get to it today, but I found an interesting little statement in this verse. We'll get to it. Won't get to it today, but I just want you to look at something. Look at verse 22. Look at verse 22 of chapter 16. Look at verse 22. We won't talk about tonight, but I just want to jump the gun, because it's an interesting verse that just stood out for me. Listen to what it says. If anyone does not love the Lord Jesus Christ, let him be accursed. Don't that sound strange to you? We'll get back to that. But I just wanted to bring something like that. So, and then that brings us to the end, of the book, of the chapter, and of the book. And I'll probably give a quick review of everything that we've learned, from the book of First Corinthians. So let's talk about this collection for the saints. All right. Look at chapter 16, verses 1. He's going to change the subject, because in chapter 15, he was talking about the resurrection, because there were some folk in the church who questioned whether, there is a resurrection from the dead. And remember how he taught that. So he changed the subject in chapter 16. He says, now concerning the collection for the saints, as I have given orders to the churches of Galatia, so you must do also. Verse 2. On the first day of the week, let each one of you lay something aside storing up as he may prosper, that there be no collections when I come. Verse 3. And when I come, whomever you approve by your letters, I will send to bear your gift to Jerusalem. Verse 4. But if it is fitting that I go also, they will go with me. So he talks about this collection. So let me just say one thing about this collection. Now, this collection, if you look at your notes, especially under letter A, the introduction, and drop down to number 1 to letter C under number 1, I have a note. This collection that the Apostle Paul is talking about, this is not a church tax. He's not instigating a tax. We don't pay taxes. Well, you pay taxes to the state, and you pay taxes to the federal government, but you don't pay taxes to the church. I.e., you don't pay taxes to the Lord, even though we have learned last week, we are citizens of heaven, but you don't pay taxes. All right. And also, see, I'll get myself in trouble with this one. This is not a tithe. All right. This is not a tithe. This collection that he's talking about is not a tax and it's not a tithe. He's not asking the saints to give 10% of their income to the church. This is a collection. This is a free will offering for a specific purpose. And the specific purpose of this collection, when we have a communion every first Sunday, Brother Todd says we have a collection. We have a benevolence collection at the end of the service, right? That's what this is. This is a benevolent offering. The purpose of this offering is to help saints that are having difficult time because of a funeral, or because of a famine, or because they are a widow and they've lost their husband and they don't have any other support than to look to the church for help. This offering is basically a benevolent offering, nothing more. So what the Apostle Paul is doing is he is collecting an offering to help those saints that are having financial difficulty, in particular in Jerusalem. And he's asking all of the Gentile churches to collect this money. So once they get to collecting, what Paul's going to do, he's going to have people, take that money to Jerusalem, or he's going to collect it and take it to Jerusalem so that the saints can benefit from. That's the sole purpose of this offering. But we're going to talk about giving anyway, and why and the purpose of giving and so forth. So he tells the church, look, now about this offering that you heard about, I given orders to other churches. Now when he says he gave orders, the Apostle Paul is not making nobody do nothing. He's not saying I'm ordering you as an apostle to collect this money. They're doing this. This is a free will offering, but he says the recommendation, because he says in our text, he says, as I have given orders to the churches, he's not giving orders like a boss and say, I'm making y'all do this. He's basically giving the other churches a recommendation as to how they are collect this offering. And the same recommendations that I gave them, I'm giving you guys the same recommendations on how you are to collect this money for the poor saints that are in Jerusalem. So here's what I want you to do, verse 2. On the first day of the week. By the way, what's the first day of the week, somebody? Sunday. Sunday is the first day of the week. Y'all do know that the Sabbath is Saturday, right? So in case you didn't know, in case you need to be reminded, Sabbath is Saturday. Sunday is the first day of the week. So what he's suggesting that these Corinthian believers is that on the first day of the week, you guys set aside the money that you want in this collection. You just set aside the money. And then every first day of the week, you set aside some more. And every first day, you set aside some more so that when the Apostle Paul comes to town, what you want to give has already been collected. You've taken, 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever, to collect it. All that money. Now, don't spend it. You're setting it aside, for the saints. So don't put it in a piggy bank and just say, you know what? I come short this month. I'm going to have to hit the kitty. No, you set this aside for the sole purpose, of being a free will offering that's going to help, people that are in trouble. So on the first day of the week, let each one of you lay something aside. So if you look at your notes on the second page, I want to show you something. You look at the note. Under recommendations on the first day of the week, look at that third note. I've listed some essential features, for Christian giving. Some essential features that not only help us to raise money for a compassionate purpose, but also to raise money to take care of the business and the needs of the church. Y'all with me now? All right, so this is the attitude that you and I should have as we give our offering for the Lord's work. And helping somebody in financial need is part of the Lord's work too. First, there's the time of giving. What believers are to do is you are to each week. Now, we don't usually in ancient times, they gave a cow or some grain or something like that. But since you're collecting money, what you're going to do is you're going to sell the grain or you're going to sell a cow or sheep and you're going to get money for it. And you're going to set this money aside for a specific purpose. So you have to have timing, which means you have to have a mindset where you plan to give. You must plan. If you don't plan to give, you won't give. Make sense, y'all? If you don't plan, if giving is not part of it has to be part of your budget. It has to be part of your budget. And if it's not part of your budget, you'll give haphazardly and you probably won't give at all. All right. So the timing on the first day of the week. So believers, that's the time that you gather for worship. So not only do you have your money to take care of the church, but you also have extra money to take care of the free will offering, take care of those that the church has decided to help. All right. So you do that. Secondly, you have to be regular. Your giving has to be regular. If it's not regular, if it's haphazard, or I give this week, but I don't give that week, your giving will be so sporadic that you'll end up not giving at all. All right, giving has to be regular, has to be consistent. So you have to lay something aside each week, and it has to be consistent. Well, number 3, the participants of this giving. Notice that each believer. So now some of us are on a Social Security check. All right. Some of us are on a retirement budget. All right. Now I'm not one of those preachers that's going to ask you to give up your retirement, give your retirement check, your whole retirement check to the church. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to ask you to give your Social Security check to the church either, because that's not, to me, that's unconscionable. You need your Social Security check, and y'all need your retirement to pay your bills. Now, even though you retired, ain't that right? Ain't that right, Brother Otis? You're retired, but you still, unless your house is paid for, you still paying a mortgage. And even if your house is paid for, you still got to pay the taxes on your house. You still gotta pay electric. You still gotta pay gas. You got bills, even if you're retired now, where you got bills. So you have to be smart. You have to allocate your money so that you get your bills paid. The money is set aside for your bills. And then you've already planned out of the money that you got, for out of your retirement, you got planned so that here's the money for my bills and here's the money for God's work. That has to be planned. And everybody, all Christians have to do that. And we have to be taught to do that. I have to say something. All right, this is how you give, you guys. You give you plan to give, because if you don't plan to give, you won't give at all. So you have to store that up. So, and another thing about giving, look at that last one, number 5, the manner you give. I've been in church all my life, you guys, and so have many of you. And I have listened to preachers browbeat God's people during offering time. You have laid a guilt trip on people. You have manipulated people. We have pressure, put high pressure on people. You know what? I don't want to do that. I want, and Paul's not doing that. I want the giving, and I always tell people, now we need the offering. We do. But I don't want to trick you out of it. I want the giving to come to the Lord's work willfully and willingly. And I want you to know that you're not just giving money to be giving money. I want you to know that what you give to the church matters, and it really is helping the ministry of the church. So these folk know where that money's going. They're not sitting up there saying, "Where's that? I just gave the church. I just gave the Apostle Paul $500. Where did $500 go?" You know where the $500 went. The $500 went to support, the saints in Jerusalem that are poor. So you should know how you are supporting the local church and all of the ministries of the local church. So let me give you a suggestion, and then I'll open up for comments. Let me give you a suggestion. Here's what I suggest that you do as far as your giving is concerned. And this takes discipline. First of all, you got to look at your income. How much money do you have coming in? Now, some folk quibble and say, "Well, Brother Smith, let's look at your gross." Well, I don't say look at your gross. I say look at what you got coming in. What is on your paycheck? Because before you get your paycheck, Uncle Sam and the state of Missouri already took their cut. They're not waiting on you to willfully, pay them their taxes. They already take their taxes out before you even see the check. So it's gone. And if you work for the city gets his cut too. So don't even worry about what your gross is, because that's already been hit by the federal government, by the state, by the city, and I don't know, maybe by the community, depending on what community you live in, if they take a piece of your. And then of course, your insurance gets taken out, and your retirement gets taken. So your check has already been hit by forces outside of your control. So don't even worry about what your gross is. What do you have actually coming in? And so we call that your net. So I said, look at what you got coming in every week, every month. You know what you got coming in y'all not guessing at it. If you're getting paid, you know what you got coming. Look at what you got coming in, and then formulate some kind of a budget. In other words, look at your paycheck and figure out where your money is going. All right, make sense? And then as you look at where your money goes, you have to willfully allocate a slot for giving. Just like you allocate a slot for gas, and you allocate a slot for electric, and you allocate a slot for your television, for for your cable. You have to do the same thing with your giving. You have to willfully allocate a slot in your budget for giving, and you have to allocate how much you're going to put in that giving budget every week. You have to tell yourself, this is what I'm giving every week. You know that. And so every week, no excuses. None of this, the plates coming around. I don't have nothing to give to the Lord. The reason why you don't have nothing to give to the Lord because you didn't plan on giving anything to the Lord because you did not put that into your budget. So it gets put into you put it into your budget, and then you chop up that allocation. Right, this is how much I'm giving out of my paycheck. This is how much I'm giving. You don't have to do it. You can say for a year, or you can say this is how much I'm able to give a year for the Lord's work. This is how much I'm able from that money to give a month. This is how much I'm able to give a week. Have a definitive decision. Make a definitive decision as to how much. Are you guys listening to me on Zoom? As to how much you can give for the Lord's work. You have to plan that, or it won't happen. And then once you plan it, just give it. Now, I'm not asking somebody who's making $15,000 a year. I'm not asking you. I'm not going to ask you to give $1,000 a week because you're not able to do that. I know you're not able to do it, and you know you're not able to do it. And no amount of guilt trip is going to, because if you do that, something else is going to suffer in your household. Look at your $15,000 and look at where your money is going. House note, gas, electric, your utilities, your food. Look at that and then decide this based on what I'm bringing in. This is how much I can give for the Lord's work consistently, and then consistently give it every week. Every first day of the week, consistently give it. That's basically what Paul's asking these guys to do in Corinth. Any comments or any questions on that? Now, I know that wasn't too simple, but I think that has to come across from the leadership from the pulpit, so that I'm not up here saying, "Wait a minute, y'all, we didn't get enough offering this Sunday. Ushers, you're gonna have to pass that plate around a second time, so we ain't got what we gonna have to pass that plate around." So I've been in churches. I lie to you not. I've been to church where they pass that offering plate 2 and 3 times. I've been there. They won't even let you out. They close the doors on you and won't let you out till they get that offering. And I didn't get it at first, but then I realized, the church shouldn't have to do that. We should not have to manipulate or beg you or trick you into giving. We just teach you simple principles. We're going to support. You're going to support our church so that we can pay the bills of the church and have money to help those that are in need. And we're asking you to look over your budget. And I'm not even asking you to tithe. A lot of folks say, "Well, Brother Smith, you should make the church tithe." Well, most folk don't tithe anyway. All right, I'm just to tell you the truth. If those who boast and brag about tithing, they really don't tithe. Y'all do know what tithe is, right? A tithing is 10%. It's 10% of your, and some folks of your gross income of everything that you got. Is 10% of your gross income. Well, and that's including what the government takes out. That's 10% of your gross income. So if your gross income is $75,000 a year, plus including what the government takes out in the states. If your gross is $75,000, a year, what's 10% of that? Somebody? So y'all good math. What is that? $7,500. Sounds a lot. That sounds like a lot, don't it? When you look at that, you say, "What? 7,500? You must be out your mind for me to be giving the church 7,500. All I'm making is that's right. That's 10%. Now, somebody do a quick. Who's got a quick calculator? Somebody do some quick math for me. Divide 7,500 by 52 weeks, because there's 52 weeks in a year. So divide that up by 52 weeks. Tell me how much that is. I'm just playing with you now. $144.23. That's if you make it. That's if you gross $75,000 a year. Yeah. See, so before you brag and talk about I'm tithing, you better make sure you really are, because you'd be lying. See, and think. Just think for a moment. Now, still keep your calculator out. That's $144. Take the cents out. Just make it $144. What if we had 50 people in the church that gave $144,000? How much is that? Every week. 7,211. Can you imagine that? A church bringing in 7,200 a week to do its ministry. Now, most of the, and that's from 50 people. That's from 50 people. That's not from 100 people. That's 50 people. All right, so 7,200 times 52. Let's mess with it for a little bit. I want to show you something. Mess with it for a little bit. How much is that? How much is that? How much is the church bringing in a year? From 50 people. $374,000. And that's not from and I'm saying 50 families. 50 families. 50 families. 300 and how much? $374,000. Now, even with a small church like that, do you think we can do ministry? Do you think we can pay the bills? Pay the pastor? Send money to missions? Do whatever we need to do? And that's not even begging. That's just 75 families that make that much. A year. Bringing the, consistently giving. So don't tell me what God can't do. See, I know what God can do. We just have to have the discipline in our giving. Just want to let your mind imagine, what the church can do if we are consistent in our giving. All right. So what am I asking you to? I'm not even asking you to tithe. I'm asking you because some of you can't tithe. Your bills, your credit card bills won't let you tithe. You done maxed out your credit card. Go ahead, Sandra.
Okay, the people that say we should be tithing, well, where does the offering come in? Because it says tithes and offerings.
Well, see, the offering is the free will offering for the church to help poor people.
Oh, okay.
All right. The tithe is supposed because in the Old Testament, Israel was to give a tithe, but the purpose of that tithe was to take care of the Levites. See, the Levites, they weren't supposed to be working. They're supposed to be, their ministry was the temple. And they were being taken care of by the people. And the tithe was what took care of the Levites. And then the Levites gave 10% of what they got to the priesthood, to the Aaronic priesthood. Now, I think every 3 or 7 years, something like that, they had a special tithe that they were supposed to allocate for the poor people. The people were supposed to tithe 10% of what they had, put it in the barn or something, so that they can take care of poor people. So the purpose of the tithe was really to take care of the Levites. Now, the New Testament does not ask the Christian to tithe. That is part of the legalistic, the Mosaic legalistic system, tithing. All right. What the Bible teaches Christians to do is to give as God has prospered you. So I say to give as God was. If you want a good place to start, you can start by giving 10% if that is possible for you. With all that you got going on in your budget, half of us are not able because we got too many bills to pay. But that's all right. That's all right. You can still, if you do this right, if you budget right, you can still look at money coming in and allocate. Just allocate. So, Lord, all I got coming in, all I got going in, the only thing all I can do is give $50 a week. And that's for a person. And let's just say that's for a person that's making $75,000 a year. Let's just do that. You make $75,000 a year, but with all that you got going on in your life, all you can allocate to the Lord is $50 a week. Then make sure that you can do that. Make sure that that's true in your budget, and then consistently put that $50 in the offering plate every Sunday, because it's part of your budget. Just like your light bill is part of your budget, and your gas bill is part of your budget. Allocate something, for the Lord's work, and then as the Lord blesses you, as the Lord gives you a raise, as the Lord helps you pay off some credit card bills, stuff like that. As you do that, then you can transfer some of that credit card bill money to the work of the Lord, because you paid off a credit card. Now, to me, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, that makes good sense in supporting the work of the Lord. Now, all I have to do is teach people and encourage people to do exactly that. Don't come to the church and put only $1 in the plate, because if you do that, it means you didn't plan. You just off the cuff. Well, it's giving time. What do I have in my wallet at the time? So I got $5. Many of you think that because you put $10 in the offering plate, you did God a favor. Yeah, you did. You thought you did God. You thought you did the church a favor throwing in $10. No, you didn't. You didn't do God a favor. You were lazy. You didn't. You didn't check. You didn't do your homework to really think about what you really can give for the Lord's work. And to give to the Lord's work, you guys, let me say this. You're not conning God by putting your money in the offering. This is not to con God or to try to trick him out of some kind of blessing. This is because you believe in the work of the Lord. You believe in the cause of Christ, and you're going to do everything you can to support it. Okay? Make sense, y'all? Now, what do you think? Go ahead. Tell me, Todd. You're a financial man. What do you think?
I don't want to discuss it right now. I'll discuss it with you personally, but I will ask you this. Is it manipulative to have people give in a manner where they have to rely solely on God in order to do it? Is that manipulative? Because, it's going to lead to me saying to you, I know you don't have the money because you used it on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Turn away from that and stretch out. You might not be able to see you can do it, but step out on faith and do that and see if he will take away some of these things. Because you said something about, when you finally arrest that credit card, that will give you opportunity to give more. No, it won't, because that's not what I was taught. That's not what you taught me. You taught me to give as best I could, irrespective of how I've lived my life prior to this commitment.
Right.
That's what it seemed like. Maybe that wasn't your intent.
No, it wasn't my intent, because you're right. We do live selfishly, and we do live above our means. Most of us do. My argument is you must plan what you do with your money.
Are you also saying you have to crawl before you can walk, and you have to walk before you can run? I could agree with that.
Yeah, pretty much so.
But it initially sort of sounded like, let me do what I can right now. God will understand. In a sense, but not in a negative sense. In a sense, I'm saying, look at your income, look at what you got coming in, and honestly evaluate from your budget what you can give to the Lord. But I understand what you're saying, because some folk have things in their budget that are questionable. You're right. Some are questionable.
Some are. For example, I'm paying $500 for my cable bill. So I can't give to the Lord because I got $500 going out every month. So wisdom means you evaluate how your money is being. That's what I intend. You evaluate. In other words, I can cut that cable down and still get my entertainment where I'm not paying $500 a month. I can cut that down to less than $100 if I do this right. But that's basically what I'm saying is you have to look at your income, and then based on your income, you have to, because if you make it $75,000 a year, we looked at, it is possible if you just gave 10%, it is possible for you to generate $144 a week for the Lord. But most of us can't do that because our living expenses exceed the money that we got coming in. In other words, most of us waste a lot of money. So we got to figure out how to cut that waste.
I would agree with that. That's where I was coming from.
Yeah,
what are you saying to that person that sort of made a mess of their finances, if you will? And when I say made a mess, I'm not saying they can't pay their bills.
Yeah, but they got money going. They got money just running out of their pockets like water over nonsense stuff. You paying $50,000 for a car when your income is only $50,000 a year.
And the only hurdle that you have to overcome is, will they lend you the money? And most people think, if they give me the money, I deserve the money.
I'll take it. But when you do that, it does. We have to be taught financial responsibility.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. So this involves, my suggestion involves you getting some financial tips. I see you, Sandy. You get some financial tips to learn how to redirect or do something with money that's more advantageous to you.
And I know Sandy got a question, but that's what I was getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Is it manipulative to use redirect your focus on God's work, building God's kingdom? Redirect your focus there and start this path.
Mm-hmm.
And see if, you'll know if you're on the right path. If you're able to then a year from now say, you know what, I did it. I stretched myself. I did it. I was able to give.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you ask me, I'll tell you where some of that money came from,
Right.
But I prefer to keep it to myself. I won't say where, but yeah, I redirected
Redirected. Is that manipulative? Right now, I don't think so, because what I'm doing is I'm teaching you to be wise with your money. I don't look at that as manipulative. Teaching you to be wise with what you have. And see, I'm not saying this to trick you out of your money. I'm saying this to redirect your thinking about living for the Lord. Part of growing and maturing in your faith is learning how to handle your money. Go ahead, Sandra.
I was just wanting to know, you support other organizations, or you support missionaries outside the church, charitable donations or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come in?
Well, I'm leaving that. I'll leave that to the person. In other words, you have decided how much money you got in your budget that you can give toward the Lord's work. And part of that can go to different organizations that, charitable organizations that you mentioned. But your point is that the issue is I'm supporting the Lord's work. Now, if you want to support, one of the things that my wife and I do is that we have, what's that organization, my dear? Compassion International. We send money to support an Ethiopian child.
But shouldn't come out of what you give to the church, or should it?
No,
Or that shouldn't be?
that's part of the overall, we call that part of the overall giving budget. And
Oh,
out of the overall giving budget, here's what goes to the church. Here's what goes to compassion. Here's what goes to another organization. To me, you guys, that's Saints' choice. That's the Saints' choice. But the real issue that I'm trying to get across to the Saints is that you have allocated, that you have been wise with your money so that you can support God's work. See, many of us can't support God's work, even if we wanted to, because our budget is so jacked up.
Pastor, and I know this.
Just real quick, and I may be criticized for this, but I'll say it anyway. The average believer, when it comes to giving, one, they don't want you to know what they're making. We have the attitude that you're getting in my business when you're talking about money. My wife and I, for the last 25, 30 years, we use what used to be called the Christian financial counseling. It's now called Money Matters. In other words, for the last 20-some years, since we've been married, we have systematically learned how to establish a budget and give based on the criteria that they recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that said, because the average saint or the average church member just gives what's left over, they have a tendency to not discipline themselves because they feel guilty, because they have given what's left over. And my challenge is, if we could get saints to understand that it's okay to become financially astute about your giving, that helps you get a better understanding of what to give and how to give with a divine attitude toward giving.
Right. Giving should not be competitive. You're not giving to try to get brownie points. And so I'm not one of those who like to put in the bulletin what everybody gave. Right? Brother Smith, he gave this, and Brother Otis, he gave. See, that all that does is build jealousy and build competitiveness, and it has folks thinking that they're more spiritual than the other person. You don't actually. Nobody needs to know what you're giving anyway. He didn't ask these folks to tell what they're giving. In fact, somebody got in trouble for doing that. Remember in the book of Acts, Ananias and Sapphira, they gave, but they gave with the wrong reasons. They gave to compete with Barnabas. They gave to get kudos from the church, pats on the back. And then they try to make it look like they gave a lot when they really didn't give a lot. So they can get praise. And they got in trouble for that. So I don't believe that that anybody needs to know what you're giving. That's not the issue. The spiritual lesson I'm trying to teach is that we need to know, number one, how to give, make sure we have an attitude of giving, and number two, that our giving is consistent. Just like everything else in our life is to be consistent. Giving is, because you're consistent in things that you want, things that you like, things that mean something to you. Well, I want the work of the Lord to mean something to you too, even more so, and that you willingly of your own free will. Nobody's making you do nothing. See, we're not going to call you on the phone and say, we haven't gotten your offering in the last 3 months.
And in addition to that, I hope I did convey that, because I wasn't trying to imply that that's what you're seeking to do. Mm-hmm. I'm simply saying, when you become knowledgeable about how to give, when you learn a systematic way of planning financially, you will put yourself in the position to be free to give, as opposed to being giving out of coercion.
Right. God does not want you to give out of coercion. He does not want you to give because you feel guilty. Because here's what I learned about when people give when they feel guilty. Yeah, you'll give a big offering because you feel guilty for maybe 2 Sundays. Then when the guilt is gone, the giving is gone. See, that's not consistent giving when you give out of guilt. Consistent giving is given because you have confidence in what God is doing through his church.
Pastor Smith.
And you believe that your giving is supporting the cause of Christ. You believe it.
Pastor Smith.
Because if you don't believe it, you won't give anyway. You don't give to that which you don't believe in. You only give to that which you believe in. All right. So I'm just giving a suggestion. My suggestion is to help you to be a more consistent giver. And to be a consistent giver, I just gave you steps. You know, plan your giving. Plan your giving. And even if you can only give $10 a week, just say that. Make it a consistency. And as the Lord frees you and helps you and makes you do better, you can increase it, at your leisure. And nobody needs to know but you and God. Amen. Now, Brother Smith now, one of the things I hate. Now, I know I got to talk about, I have to talk about giving. I have to talk about money because that's part of what the Bible teaches. But I don't like looking over people's shoulders. And I don't want to make people feel guilty. And I don't want to manipulate anybody into giving. I don't want to come up, I talk to pastors and they say, Brother Smith, they say, we got some millionaires in our church and they don't give any more than the ordinary people. They don't give. Millionaires aren't good givers, Brother Smith. I don't even want to know that. If you're a millionaire, well and good. This has to be part of your growth in Christ. And I'm not going to come up to you and say, Brother Jones, I heard you and your wife are multi-millionaires. We haven't seen a check from you guys, for over $1,000. Man, we should be getting more from y'all. What's up?
Brother Henry, can you hear me?
Well, Pastor, even though I make $1 million, I got my boat I got to pay for, and I got my mansion I got to pay for. And my wife and I just bought this new Cadillac, man. We got money all over. But I can't get more. See, I'm not going to have that discussion with you.
Talking, but every Wednesday somebody tell him they can't hear
I want to teach you to grow in your faith. And part of growing in your faith is learning how to be a consistent, systematic giver.
Brother Henry, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Who's got a hand up?
Brother Henry.
Go ahead, Brother Henry.
Pastor, I had a bunch of questions.
Read what he's asking.
One of the things.
Don't talk. You gotta write it down. You gotta type it up, Brother Henry, in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'll do that then. I'm sorry. I have to go back. Give me a minute then.
Yeah, because you're probably talking. But anyway, I also hear you, Brother Swan, about it's very easy to manipulate people. And that is not in any way, form, or fashion that I want to tolerate. I want people to give freely, to give willingly, and to give joyfully. I just want them to know that it is possible for them, if they do it right and use wisdom from God, that they can really check out their budget and they can find ways to give consistently. You'd be surprised, you might be surprised if you check your budget out. Now, I'm not going to do it for you. Unless, of course, you need a financial advisor to help you straighten out your, I would say, but I would say, I want you to do this. I want you to take the initiative because of your relationship with God and do this. I will say this, if you're making $100,000, if you're making $100,000 a year and all you give God is $500 a year, that is a spiritual problem. It really is a spiritual problem. And the reason why it's a spiritual problem, because there's some stuff going on in your life that's zapping you of your effectiveness in serving the Lord. And not only are you not giving, but you're not doing other things. So you're not in prayer, you're not in church, you're not in Bible study, you're not doing, there's a lot of other things you're not doing. It's not just you're not giving, there's a lot of other stuff you're not doing too. So it's a spiritual problem, and you need to be lovingly encouraged to be more dedicated to the Lord. That's all. That makes sense, everybody? Yeah, that's not manipulation. That's not manipulation. Yeah. Yeah, okay, Henry, yeah, you're probably trying to say something. I hope that tonight's lesson made some sense. I know that when preachers talk about money, people get intimidated by that. Oh no, here we go. We must need more money for Blessed Hope Bible Church. What Blessed Hope Bible Church needs really is not the issue. It's your attitude towards supporting the Lord's work. That's the issue. Blessed Hope Bible Church is always going to have a need. We always going to need money and more of it. So that's a fact. But that's not the problem. The problem is us maturing in our faith and our giving, reflecting our maturing in our faith.
Maybe it's just an opinion. I don't know. Maybe you want to share if you think that might be the case as well. But I also sort of think in a lot of our hearts, it's a gratitude issue or lack thereof.
Correct. It's a gratitude issue. And it is a gratitude issue. Yeah, it is a gratitude issue. The Lord has done so much for us. And we just, we try to get by on as little as possible.
Pastor,
go ahead.
Henry just says he'll get back to you at a later date.
Oh man, Henry, I want that. I'll get back with you on later, but I want that comment, man. Amen. Because you might be helping somebody, but okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop here. Go ahead.
Out of my regular job, and so what do I do with that extra money in terms of how do I use that and how do I allocate it to give to the church?
All right, now this might sound weird. I'm not so much worried about the extra money you might give, that you might get from an extra job or anything. Because see, people let that word, oh, I got some extra money. I did some overtime and I got 500 extra bucks. So I gotta make sure the Lord gets his cut. And then you get all stressed out about it. Giving is not to be stressful. If you get extra money, you get extra money. My suggestion is that you look at your overall budget that you get in a year. If you get extra money, good, well and good. And if you want to give extra, well and good. But I'm just suggesting looking at your overall income and then deciding from that where you're going to go.
It also militates, I'm sorry to say this, Pastor, against giving from your net versus your gross. And I'll explain quickly why. Because a lot of people look at their tax refund that way.
Right.
Oh, here's some extra money. I need to make sure God gets this. All that is the too much tax that you paid throughout the year.
Right.
But if you gave from your gross, that wouldn't make any difference.
Right. Wouldn't make no difference. Right. That's just extra money that you already that you overpaid and just got back. I don't advocate worrying about your net or your gross unless you insist on tithe. Unless you insist on making tithing your thing. And I said, now remember, if you're gonna tithe, you got tithe from your gross, not your net, your gross, all of the money that you got coming, even the money that the government took out. You got to look at your whole income. And so my suggestion is don't worry about it. Just look at what you got, what you actually got coming in, in your paycheck, and go from there. Make it easy on yourself. Don't get stressed. Giving is not something that's supposed to stress you out. Giving is not something that's supposed to make you feel guilty. Oh my goodness, if I don't give the Lord this much, I'm making $75,000 a year. If I don't give the Lord $144 a week, the Lord's gonna make my car break down. The Lord's gonna put me in the hospital. The Lord gonna make my wife leave me or something. You think of bad things that can happen to you, and that is not God's purpose for you. God is not threatening you. God wants your giving and your gifts to be a free will offering, something that comes from your heart, something that you want to give because you believe in supporting God's work and you are grateful for what God has done for your life. So I said to people, don't even worry about all that. Just make a decision on being consistent with something. Be consistent with something. Start little, and as the Lord bless you, go from there, build up. But don't make it something that causes you stress and worry. It should be something that gives you joy and that you're willing to do. This is a lesson, by the way, I think every church at some point should get. Every church should get this. And maybe, at some point, sometimes we should have people need help with their money. I need help with I need help with my money. They need help with how to handle their money. And I'm not talking about stripping down to the bare bone. You can enjoy life with what God has given you. In fact, remember we learned that in the book of Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiastes told you, to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You might as well, because if you don't, somebody else will. So you worked hard, enjoy the fruits of your labor. That is a gift from God. So on the one hand, I teach you to enjoy life. But on the other hand, I say, as you enjoy the life that God has given you, use the joy of your life to also support the work of the Lord with joy. Mm-hmm. Now I hear now I'm through with this lesson, but I hear what some of you are saying in your minds. And look, I sure wish the Lord would let me win that lottery. Boy, what can I do with $100 million? I'd come to Pastor and I said, Pastor, I'm gonna give you 10% of that 100. Don't you know, Pastor? That's $10 million that's $10 million. But you can build a new church, Reverend. And you know what? The reason why you did that because of pride. Not because you believed in God's word. You did that out of pride. You did that to win popularity. You did that to get on Channel 2 News. Yeah, you did. But you don't have $10 million and you didn't win $10 million and you don't need $10 million to support God's work. You got enough right now in your budget to support God's work. Every last one of us. You got enough right now. You may not have gotten a raise, you may not have got an extra $500, but you got enough right now to support the Lord with what you have. So use what you have. Start with what you have. And don't be worrying about what you don't have. And go from there. That makes sense? Is that believable? See, that basically what I want to do is take the burden off of you. Take the pressure off of you. And take the manipulation off of you as you give. So that your giving is not intimidated. Your giving comes from a willful heart and is done with joy. And if you're supporting other things, if you support, like I do, we've been supporting that the Ethiopian child. How long have we been doing that? For a good 10 years or so. So all I'm saying to you, if there's a mission or if there's a work that you wanna support, by all means do it. By all means do so. And don't feel guilty about it either. Oh my goodness, I didn't gave this missionary organization. I gave this missionary organization $500. I should have gave that money to Blessed Hope Bible Church. Blessed Hope Bible Church won't get this $500 because I gave it to this missionary. Don't you dare feel guilty about that. You were supporting God's work. You allocated, you looked at your funds, you allocated what you're going to give, and you said all of the money that I'm going to give for the Lord's work, this much is going here, this much is going here, this much is going there. You get to do that. That's still giving. I'm not one of those preachers that say you better not get that money. And I get that $500 that missionary. You better get that money. I better see that money in that offering plate. And I'm going to ask Todd to make sure that it was in there. Don't let me find out that you've been giving money to other ministries. That would be improper. Mm-hmm. All right. Anybody else got a comment? Like I said, when you get into the Bible, sooner or later you're going to hit all kinds of issues. And yes, this is one of them, giving. May the Lord encourage us at Blessed Hope Bible Church to give, not to con God or not to impress the preacher, but to give because you appreciate what God has done in your life and you desire to support the work of the Lord. I do not want to check out of this world not having supported the work of the Lord with all that I have. And I don't think you do either. God bless you and keep you. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this opportunity to talk about something, that might scare some people. Making this collection for the saints. And what I did was I tried to give some suggestions as to how we can be consistent, faithful givers. Maybe when we go home and we think about it, we might even come up with some more suggestions. But if we do, allow us to help one another, be joyful, consistent, faithful supporters of the work of the Lord. Thank you for your word, for how it touches our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.